Welcome back to another review. We're into episode 5. This is the breakdown stroke review. So we're basically still on the planet Eridus, and I have to admit, it's a planet that I don't think we'll ever hear from ever again, or even notice it, or pretty much even talk about it. Now, we have a transmission all the way from Earth, which is Jane and Jayborg talking about the prisons that Lord Zed has built around the planet and captured the Rangers. Now, this doesn't kind of sit right with me in a way, because I would imagine that the Rangers could escape with their normal powers, the ones that have powers, that is, like Ninja Storm, like using the wind powers to get through, because I don't know if Lord Zed knows all about it. But even the ones that have certain powers, you think that they'd be able to use them before getting captured, and if they're able to morph, then what's keeping them in the prison? I don't understand it. Maybe it's a new prison, but the way the whole news report at the moment kind of says is, hey, they're here. They've been locked in a prison. We can't get out. What are we going to do? But yeah, I just kind of feel like this part, it wouldn't feel right with the Rangers. I feel like the Rangers could get out. But, oh well. But the Sentinels, they're back. They chase off Jane and Jayborg, and the footage is left off. So I'm wondering... I'm just wondering if the cameraman has learned his lesson or just literally ditched the thing and just ran off with them. Back on the ship, everyone is wondering where the music is coming from, and this is a big part of this episode. It's not the normal music that we know of. It's Harvey playing metal music and screaming about Lord Zed being an evil guy, etc, etc, which again, I would wholeheartedly kind of go, yeah, Harvey, I completely agree with you. Now, even though I don't like this music in it, I'm not a big fan of it. I know he's done other music, which I generally really like, but for me personally, I wasn't a huge fan. Everybody in the group hates the music bar Fern. She absolutely loves it and thinks it's pretty decent because she can play the drums just like him, and it's not the kind of same. After a bit of conversation, we actually have a news report from a news reporter interviewing Virgilia. And we don't know what his name is. He doesn't really say. I thought he would have. But Virgilia and the others have found a old Zord, a Dragon Zord. Not that Dragon Zord. But they found a Dragon Zord, and, everyone's wondering where they got it from. It's kind of interesting to see. I generally thought that they would give a little bit more information, but obviously they don't. What Power Rangers is these days doesn't actually give you the information that you need. In this news report, they say that Ollie is going to be driving it for Lord Zed, and it will be the evil Zord to destroy the Power Rangers. We've had evil Zords before, but to be fair, right now, we're going to have Ollie Zord. This is going to be his Zord that he's going to use. Stay tuned if you want to know if he actually does do that. But apart from that, Scrozzle is there. He turns around and says, yeah, the Zord is dormant and it's not going to work. They talk about a metal band of monsters called the Jawbreakers. And okay, I can kind of get the name. You want it to be evil type it or mean sounding. It's just I would have probably gone with the Monster Mash or something like that, or a metal monster. If you know a better name than Jawbreakers for a metal band that's evil, let me know down below in the comments. The Rangers then come up with a plan to say, hey, okay, well, we need to get into this base. We need to get that Zord before Ollie can power it up. And a plan is made. Everyone is going to go down, dress up as different monsters to get into the base to kind of power up the Zord to get it on their side rather than Ollie getting his hands on it and pretty much probably losing every single battle, etc, etc. Now, I generally think that this entire episode, to me, is the most creative in Power Rangers that we've seen for a very long time. Normally, we just see the Rangers come up with a kooky plan, but because this isn't following a Sentai, this to me feels like there is so much stuff. So I'm very happy about this. It makes me a little bit happier that the team working on the show actually had a little bit of free reign to do this rather than sticking to a Sentai. Now that the plan's been formed, they are going to turn around and dress up. Fern says that she's going to join the party because if Zato can get in, they're going to recognize it if they're in the band, if they're playing, so they're going to instantly recognize who they are. So they come up with a plan of actually going to the planet, doing this and being fine. But Izzy just kind of sticks in. It's like, no, we're not going to let you go. We're not going to let you go because, I don't want you getting hurt, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, right, I get it. I do. But you need a plan. You need an entire band to play. And she knows how to actually play the drums. I get the being want to be safe, but it just really irritates me that, you know, this is happening. Either way, you would try to find a way to teleport Fern back home, or send her in an escape pod or something, which would take a lot longer, or try and get her out of there rather than just kind of like ignoring her. It just irritates me so much. But in the end, Izzy turns around and says, hey, yeah, okay, fine. You can do this, like, you know, you can come along, and you know, the plan is formed. The planet where Squid Ink Inc., still kind of weird, the mining colony is located on planet Airlim, I think that's right, which, to be honest, I'm liking the names of the planets. Like, I really like the fact that when they go to somewhere else, like, they have the name there, very much like a Marvel film. So I generally kind of really like that, because it helps it, rather than say, here is a planet. Even when you see stuff like on Earth later on, you still say, hey, this is Earth. Everyone is completely dressed up in their monster gear, and they all look like pretty cool. Like, it's mix mash, but it looks pretty cool, and I'm all here for it. And I feel like this is going to be one of my favorite scenes in Power Ranger history, because it felt different, and they've kind of gone really a bit further. So the Rangers arrive, they're in their monster gear, they go up to the gate, they're saying, like, you know, Bajilia has signed off for the fact that they are going to be there to play music for the monsters, and that's it. The monsters believe them after a little while, and they go and set up, and then they start singing a song about Lord Zed. Now, this kind of gives me a Mad Max vibe for some strange reason. When I started seeing how they were playing music, but then all of a sudden, I think it's Ion just literally just grinding metal and sparks flying, and that kind of reminded me of this whole thing of Mad Max, and I don't know why, but I do really like the reason why they've done this, to kind of make it better. It's metal music, this is what monsters want, and I generally think that they pulled this off really well. It was singing the same lyric over and over and over again, which was a little bit boring, but hey, it's unique and original, and that's what Power Rangers is meant to be. Now, for some strange reason, Scrozzle starts talking about a war that kind of happened, and that kind of got me intrigued. I wanted to know more about this, but it's kind of like pushed away, brushed off. You won't hear much about it, because Ollie goes on about Bajilia and the way that she's running things. Ollie goes on about how he doesn't like Bajilia, and I can understand that. It's very kind of weird. But I think that we needed to focus more on Scrozzle on this, because the device he has in his hand looks really kind of familiar, but I don't know where it's from. If you know where it's from, let me know down below in the comments. Now, a really good line that when one monster comes running in to the tent to say, like, oh, you coming to the concert, Ollie goes, that's not CEO behavior. And I generally thought, that's kind of right. How many CEOs actually turn around and put on a free concert if they don't want something in return? It's so weird. So I kind of like the fact that Ollie's just like, that's not CEO behavior, and then just cheeses it out there. It's fun, it's unique, and again, I kind of really like some of the lines that they're talking about in Cosmic Fury. Now, when Ollie goes out and he actually counts how many people are there, he's like, this must be them. I know Ollie's like, well, you know, it couldn't be them, but we all know it's the Rangers. It's gonna be them. Like, how many of them are there? Now, if you had another person, maybe they wouldn't have kind of figured it out. Maybe they would have gone, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. But no, they didn't. It's just so weird. Like, yeah, it's just weird. But Ollie kind of clocks on straight away and then counts out. We see Izzy's look. I really like Izzy's look. I really like it. She looks really cool. Like, I definitely think like she's the best dressed one out of the lot. She looks great. That's all I can say. She looks absolutely great. Because of this, Ollie pulls out his brand new weapon that Scrozzle made for him, the Tricera Blaster, which again is a cool name. It's probably one of the cooler looking weapons that the Rangers have at the very end, you know, all the way through. And with that, he attacks the Rangers, which causes them to morph, and we get probably one of the best looking morph like finishers, you know, when they're posing ever. A fight breaks out, obviously, it's a Power Ranger show. A fight breaks out. Ollie is more focused on Izzy this time rather than anyone else, and they go at it. They start fighting, and then all of a sudden he turns his attention to who he thinks is Zato. He sees Fern, and all of a sudden, bam, he's like, he just doesn't care. He's like, oh, over and done with. Don't care about this anymore. When all of a sudden he kind of figures out where Zato would be, and he rushes over to the tent. He gets in there and he sees that obviously Zato is charging up the Zord, getting ready to be used, which then causes Bajilia to teleport in with her minions and stuff. And she sees Scrozzle tied up and she makes a joke, and I genuinely laughed. I was like, okay, That's kind of funny. And yeah, like there's quite a bit of humor in this. I generally think the humor is fantastic. And yeah, I'm all here for it. Now, as the Zord has been powered up, Zato teleports in and the Zord flies away. But before that happens, Ollie actually puts a tracker on the actual Zord itself, which again, if you look at the footage, you can see it blinking a little bit, the red light. So I'm guessing that's the reason why he did it. And it's in exactly the same spot, maybe moved around a little bit. But yeah, it's there. The Dragon Zord goes off into space. It gets used and actually in a fight, and it's kind of cool. All the monsters that the Rangers are fighting just run off after a while. They're like, oh, we don't get paid this much, and off they go, never to be seen ever again. We'll never see them ever again. There's more hijinks a little bit, you know, with a few lines, and Fern is inside Izzy's Zord. Izzy says, look, don't press anything. It forms the Megazord, and then Fern hits something which then causes another Zord to come out of nowhere to fight the monster, and it actually helps them out. Doesn't hinder it, just literally helps them out. At the very end, they've defeated all the monsters, they've done everything, and they head straight off into space, singing Harvey's song about Lord Zed in a metal way. Once back at the base, they hear Tarek. Tarek is contacting them, giving them some information about what's going on. He tells them about the squidrils, about them creating a force field, which then generates a field that they're not able to kind of take things down. Again, pretty easy, I think. Like, it tells the story itself, and they're kind of figuring out what to do next. With Tarek actually telling them about the force field, one thing that I don't get is, like, if you just take one down, all the rest drop. So effectively, if one blows up and then there is a network, what the hell? It just doesn't seem right. It just feels like it's such a bad flaw. You think that if one destroyed, the others would be able to pick it up, but like that one area means that you could use a Megazord, but you couldn't use the one if there was one in France or England or, you know, other parts of America or something. So I think that was a flawed plan. Very, very flawed. So we move back over to Eltar. This is where Lord Zed is annoyed. I mean annoyed at everyone for not doing their job. It's also interesting to see the big bad get really annoyed and not actually do the stuff that he's meant to do. Like, come on, you think you pull your own weight around here? It's your plan. You want to do it. Just do it yourself. You're capable of destroying everyone really quickly. We get some information about Squillia, about her crush. We see some photos, which I was really kind of happy to see who we're going to see. I'm going to not mention his name here, but I'll mention his name in the next video because I think he's in that one a lot more. Ollie now knows where the Rangers are, and he has a monster who absolutely hates the worms on Eridus. So the monster is going to go with him, which is kind of cool. And that is the end of the episode there. Now, as I said, I generally kind of really like this episode. I feel like it was more up to the creative team. They had a lot more fun. They had a lot more things to do to kind of make it more interesting. So for me, I was very happy with seeing it. And yeah, I just liked a lot of the looks. I'm going to say it, I think Izzy looked really good in her outfit. It just worked really, really well. And I generally think that the entire whole series so far has been really good. This isn't one of my favorite episodes, but I feel like it's a very decent one. I think my favorite scene is the fact that when they finish morphing, they do the pose like in a band. I think that's fantastic. But it just feels like they were a lot more creative, and it's sad that knowing the series is going to end for now until the reboot, that they can't be that creative. Could you imagine if they were creative in Dino Fury or even Beast Morphers? But yeah, hell, it's so far so good so far. I'm going to end it there. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you want to help out the channel, hit like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon as well as the YouTube channel membership. Thank you very much for listening and watching. I'll catch you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimona Cat, Kira Stanada, Micah Baldwin. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができるよ。